less than 100 days.
Yeah, that's why I asked you, because I was like, that's crazy.
Okay, I'm good when you're good, Casey.
Okay, I'm good. Pretty sure. Let me just double check that I actually put my recorder on.
While she's doing that, can you just say your name real quick?
Michael Taapken.
Cool.
Oh, did you get in touch with our salesperson, by the way?
Yes.
Okay.
And we met the other day, and she's putting some stuff together for us as we speak.
Great. Just wanted to make sure that all worked out.
Sure.
Okay. So, your full name, just to make sure I'm spelling it right, is Michael.
That is correct.
And then Taapke.
That is correct.
Okay. Are you comfortable with the current age?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. What is your current age?
I am 56.
Okay.
Going on 22.
Date of birth?
4/22/66.
Oh, nice. So, not super long ago, you had a birthday.
Right.
Okay, where did you grow up?
I was born in northern Indiana. It's called Elkhart, 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 Indiana. And since we're on that subject, go ahead. You asked me the questions.
Oh, no, go ahead. Is there something you wanted to say? Okay.
It's just that I was born in Elkhart, Indiana, and it's a larger city. But then when I was very young, we moved to the country.
Oh.
Okay, and so by the time I was in the first grade, we moved to the country, and so we had a farm, and for miles and miles around us, it was all Amish community. So we were the only Westerners in the community. We were the first ones on the school bus every morning and the last ones to get off every night. But before we got on the school bus, we had to get up and go out and do chores. And I'm in the first grade. So we got up and went out and did chores. I'm the baby of 5 children. And we were poor. Hard-working Midwesterners. Very poor. Hard-working. My parents were divorced when I was 11 years old. And by the time I was 11, we were able to start a pizza shop as a family. So that's where it all started. We were able to open a pizza shop, and then my parents got a divorce. And for the next 4 years, I lived with my mother. Now, growing up, we were taught that if you didn't work, you didn't eat. Okay? And I remember one day I was sick in bed. I don't remember if I had the flu or something, but my mother brought me something to eat at mid-morning or late morning, I don't remember, but I told her I couldn't eat it because I hadn't worked that day. So that was seriously a struggle. But, you know, I remember I was maybe 13, 14 years old. And I was laying on my mother's couch, and I had such a severe headache. I couldn't open my eyes. I couldn't move off the couch. And the only thing that we had in the house, my mother made some fried green tomatoes. And so I ate fried green tomatoes, and my headache went away. It was because I had not eaten in 3 days.
Oh my God. Why?
We were poor. We were poor. And then I spent my sophomore year in a foster home. Okay. My dad had remarried and he had his own second family. And when the divorce occurred, my two oldest brothers went in the Marine Corps. And so there's three of us who are Marines. But my mother couldn't financially support. So anyway, I was in a foster home my sophomore year in high school. And then my last 2 years of high school, my junior year and my senior year, basically I had my own apartment, going to school, working multiple jobs. But I graduated, and I still remember I graduated it was June 1st or 2nd. And I was scheduled, I went on what they call the delayed entry program. I got my mother's signature, so my whole senior year I was actually going to Marine Corps meetings and working with other recruits and doing the training and the whole bit. So in April, just before I graduated high school, I cut my leg with a chainsaw at one of my jobs that I was working at. And so I graduated high school, it was June 1st or 2nd, and I was supposed to go to boot camp on June 4th. But because I cut my leg in April, they told me I had to wait an additional 6 months. And so I lost all that delayed entry program time. But in hindsight, it was good because I went to San Diego for boot camp, and going to San Diego, California in June, July, and August is pretty hot. So anyway, I got to go to boot camp in January of '85. And I went to San Diego. And I guess the rest is kind of history, but I earned my dress blues. And that had been a goal of mine for 2 or 3 years of going through high school. That's one of the hardest things that you can do as an individual is earn those dress blues.
Can you explain that? Because I have no idea.
Well, I mean, okay. If you talk to someone, they'll say, I was in the Army, I was in the Navy, I was in the Air Force. But today, I'm 56 years old. I am a Marine. That is something that you take away my birthday. You can take away anything you want to take away from me. But that title, I will be a Marine until the day I die. And if not all Marines earn their dress blues, okay, a lot of Marines that buy their dress blues, because you do different things to earn them. However, that's irrelevant, but I earn my dress blues, okay? I am a Marine.
Is that what the dress blues signify, or is that
The dress blues, that is if you were to go to a black tie affair out here on the street, okay? I mean, the dress uniform. I don't have any photos of them, but that is the ultimate goal of any Marine. Is to wear those dress blues. And the dress blues, if you look at anyone in any military branch of any country, the Marine Corps dress blues are by far the most outstanding of all uniforms. Okay? I am a very humble individual, okay? But I take a great amount of pride in my work. And I worked hard enough to earn those dress blues. I earned that title. My Marine Corps time, I went in what they call open contract, which, okay, so you take the ASVAB, you take whatever SATs, and I scored fairly well, but you know, my going through high school and the peer pressure, living by yourself when you're a junior and a senior in high school, there's a lot of peer pressure, but I didn't have a lot of time for friends. I didn't have a lot of socializing, excuse me. But there was still peer pressure, and I experimented with marijuana, okay, that kind of stuff. And so when I enlisted in the Marine Corps, I admitted that I had experimented with marijuana, and that's why I wasn't guaranteed an MOS or a military occupational specialty, okay? And so that just means that, you know, I could have been infantry, I could have been a cook, wherever they needed me, that's where they would have put me. Okay, because I was open contract. Now, I didn't care. I just didn't care. I wanted to complete Marine Corps boot camp, and I wanted to earn my dress blues. And I graduated number 2 out of boot camp.
Impressive.
The only reason I didn't graduate number 1 is because he did better on the final written exam than I did.
Oh.
Yeah. So there you go. So right at the end of boot camp, my senior drill instructor asked me, he said, "Can you drive?" Sir, yes, sir. Well, and then and I'm not going to use the verbiage that he used, but he said, "You can't tell me." He said, "Every 18-year-old thinks that they can drive." Sir, Private grew up on a farm. I've literally been driving since I was 3 years old. And so they made me motor transport, which I was a driver. Now, after boot camp, I only had like, I don't even remember, just 2 or 3 weeks between boot camp and my first school. And so I went back to Indiana. I did visit my mom, and I was not comfortable in that environment. And so I guess in hindsight, looking at it today, I call it breaking the chains, okay? So at the end of this, towards the end of my 4 years in the Marine Corps, I was in South America, and I'll get to that part. But my high school found me in South America. I was in La Paz, Bolivia, okay? And they said, "We're getting ready for our 5-year reunion."
Oh.
Okay?
Okay.
So I called my sister, who was still living and I only have one sister, so there's 4 boys and 1 sister and 1 girl. So my sister was still living in that little town, And I called her and I asked her, I said, you know, so guys that I graduated high school with, what's this guy doing? What's that guy doing? Well, this guy's in jail for drugs. This guy's in jail for too many DUIs. This guy's in jail because he's owes back child support, and breaking the chains. I did not want to go back to that environment, okay? Because I just didn't want to put myself in that situation, okay? So I didn't go, but when I went in the Marine Corps, my father retired and moved up here to Helena.
Oh.
Okay, so when I got out of the Marine Corps, I came to Montana, to Helena, and then we'll get to that in a bit. But so they made me motor transport. I was a driver. Okay, so then after boot camp, I went to Indiana for a couple of weeks, and then I went back to California to Camp Pendleton, and I spent 6 weeks in motor transport school. And so you spend 1 week in the classroom, and then you spend 1 week in the field driving little Jeeps and pickups, and then you spend the third week in the classroom, and then the fourth week you're out in the field and you're driving the mid-size, the Humvees and the 5-ton trucks, troop transports. Then you go back to the classroom, and then the last week you're out driving like tractor trailers. And so after that, my first duty station, they asked me, and I graduated, I think, number 2 in that class as well. It haunts me forever. But they asked me, you had my choice. I could go to the East Coast, which is Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, West Coast, Camp Pendleton, California, or I could go overseas. Well, I went to the Marine Corps to go overseas if I had the opportunity, okay? So I chose to go to Okinawa, Japan. Okay. Okinawa, Japan is an island. I believe it's like 70 miles long north to south and like 17 miles east to west at its widest points. Now, it ended up, when you're in the Marine Corps, you volunteer for nothing. Okay? You don't volunteer for anything.
Why not?
Because it can be some pretty nasty duty.
Okay, good to know.
As an example, if you're out in the field doing field operations and doing training out in the field with 500 to 1,000 other men, I mean, you see it on the movies. They're burning the latrines and that. You never volunteer for anything. Okay? So, anyway, the first... Japan for 1 year, 12 months. Now the first month that you're there, it's called acclimatization and orientation. So you're getting used to the climate, and then of course all of their vehicles, the steering wheel is on the right, and they drive on the left. Okay? So but all of our vehicles, the steering wheel is still on the left, but you drive on the left. So you had to get what they call a SOFA stamp. So you had to go through their driver's ed, or to get the driver's license to drive on the island. Okay. Their driver's license. And so anyway, that's the first month. And then I got all that done, and then I was in formation, the beginning of the second month. And I won't tell you what the gunnery sergeant said, but everyone will spend 1 month on mess duty in the chow hall before you leave this island.
Okay.
And so I said, okay, fine. I'll do it now and get it over with. So the second month I worked in the chow hall, and I was unloading trucks and putting food away. Got that done, and then back to the motor pool. The gunny says, I need a volunteer. Well, no, I'm not going to volunteer. But he said, there's a Marine who's going on vacation. He's going to go back to the United States for 3 weeks, and we need someone to be a chauffeur for the battalion commander, who is Lieutenant Colonel. I'll do it.
You volunteered.
I volunteered. Yeah. And so I was a chauffeur for the battalion commander, Lieutenant Colonel. 3 weeks passed. The Marine came back from vacation. Lieutenant Colonel sent him to the motor pool and kept me.
Why? I guess you
Maybe I did a better job. I don't know. Okay.
Just curious, sorry.
So then, not only was I the chauffeur for Lieutenant Colonel, the battalion commander, I was also the chauffeur for the battalion sergeant major. So the Lieutenant Colonel is in charge of he's in charge of everybody, but specifically all the officers. And then the sergeant major is in charge of all the enlisted, basically. And so anyway, I would get up in the morning and I would go to the motor pool and I would get the sedan, and I'd go over, pick up the lieutenant colonel and take him to a meeting, and then go back and get the Jeep maybe and go pick up the sergeant major and take him out to the field. But anyway, long story short, 10 months driving for those two Marines on this 70 by 17 island. I drove 18,000 miles.
Oh my gosh.
And then by doing so, I received what the Marine Corps calls a meritorious promotion.
Okay.
So all you have to do basically, rank structure, when you go first day of boot camp, you're private E1, enlisted first rank. And then basically all you have to do is breathe and not get in any trouble, and you can make E2 and E3.
Right.
Okay, so private first class and lance corporal. I was meritoriously promoted to E3 before, because you have to have so much time in service and then so much time in that rank, or they call it in grade, to get your next promotion. And then, you know, you have to do so well on your efficiency, your conduct, your physical fitness, all these things play into it. But anyway, I was meritoriously promoted to E3. Now, I was just getting ready to leave the island of Okinawa. My year was just about up. And I was driving the lieutenant colonel one day, and he says, "Lance Corporal," he says, "do you want to make the Marine Corps a career?" And at that time I did. Okay? And he says, "Well," he says, "do you understand that, number one, in a wartime situation, motor transport has like a 3-second life expectancy, because they're going to bomb out your motorcades and all that." Okay, so he said, "Number two, 98% of all Marines, specifically in motor transport, if they were to get out after the 4-year contract, they're still in E3. Okay? At the end of my 4-year contract, I'm in E5. Okay? So there's less than 1%, I believe it is, of all Marines make it to E5 after 4 years.
So how does that happen? Like, how did you get so far so quickly?
You have to be good at what you do. Now, my brother, I'm going to give you an example. My oldest brother received a medical discharge from the Marine Corps. I believe he was a E3. But, excuse me.
Oh, you're fine.
So my brother is going to read this article, but my brother's in Illinois.
Okay.
But this part cannot be in the paper because he's going to read it.
Okay.
Okay? But my brother, my second brother, spent 12 years in the Marine Corps.
Okay.
He only made it to E6, so he's got the rocker on the bottom. Okay. He ran out of time. So if he wouldn't have gotten E7, they basically booted him out.
Oh.
He wasn't good enough. Okay. And so, and it's everything. Your conduct, your professionalism, your physical fitness, the way you shoot a rifle, every single thing that I picked up in the Marine Corps. So from the 38, the 45, the 357, the M16A1, M16A2, shotguns, Uzis, every single weapon that I picked up, I qualified expert on, with just the handling, the tear down, the cleaning, the shooting, everything. Physical fitness, as an example, the physical fitness test is you have to do 20 pull-ups, you have to do 80 sit-ups in 2 minutes, and then you have to run 3 miles in 18 minutes.
Okay.
So each of those, if you do 20 pull-ups, you get 100 points.
Okay.
If you do 80 sit-ups in 2 minutes, you get another 100 points. And if you run 3 miles in 18 minutes or less, you get another total 300 perfect score. Now I was in South America, and I got my best physical fitness score. And then again, it haunts me to this day. I ran 3 miles in 18:01. I got a 299 on my physical fitness score.
Oh, you were so close.
I know, right? But I would always do the 20 and the 80. It was just my run time that was always. But I think my slowest run time, was like 18:15, 18:20. So I mean, I was in the 290s all the time. But that 299 is still haunts me to this day. But
I mean, 18 minutes for 3 miles is impressive.
Right?
Like I've run it in 21 and it sucks. So.
Right. So anyway, the lieutenant colonel, you want to, yes, okay. So he wrote a letter of recommendation for me,
Okay.
and I was accepted into the Marine Security Guard Battalion in Quantico, Virginia. Okay. This is an honor. I mean, it's an honor to be a Marine. Okay. But I mean, even to be accepted into this school, it's only a 6-week school, or it was.
Right.
It's in Quantico, Virginia. You train with the FBI. You train with the State Department in Washington, D.C. And you train with the Marine Corps. If I remember my numbers correctly, on day 1 of this school, there was like 125 Marines. 6 weeks later on graduation day, I believe there was 61 of us. Okay? Now, what is the Marine Security Guard Battalion and what do they do? Okay. Number 1, you have a top secret clearance. Okay. You see classified documents. You travel on a diplomatic passport. It's not just a normal passport like civilians have. Therefore, when you go to one country to another, you never have to go through customs. Okay? Everywhere you go, country over country over country, you have an American embassy. Okay? And no matter where that embassy is, no matter what country that embassy is in, it sits on American soil. we fly the American flag. Every embassy has an ambassador, and that man or woman, ambassador, is the president of that United States. My job was to protect that soil, protect that flag, and protect that president. And that's how I spent the next 3 years in the Marine
Okay, so you spent 1 year driving around the lieutenant colonel, and then
Right.
the next 3 years protecting the embassies.
Corps.
Okay.
And it was actually a 30-month contract, if you will.
Okay.
And so in the 4 years that I was in the Marine Corps, you can do the math. I had 11 weeks of boot camp,
Mhm.
2 6-week schools, and then I had, I believe it was 2 weeks vacation total. So I mean, in 4 years, I was only in the United States less than 6 months.
Okay.
Okay. I got to go to, I believe it was 12 additional countries. What we call the mother embassy. My first embassy that I went to was Abu Dhabi, which is over in the Persian Gulf. I turned 19 years old at Camp Pendleton, California. I turned 20 years old in Okinawa, Japan. I turned 21 years old in Kuwait. And I turned 22 years old in La Paz, Bolivia. But my first embassy that I went to was Abu Dhabi, over in the Persian Gulf, and they have the United Arab Emirates. I turned 21 in Kuwait. So you were supposed to be at one specific embassy for 15 months, or roughly thereabouts. But every time I had the chance, I would volunteer to go to other embassies. Okay. I took a little break, took a couple of days off. I got to go to Bangkok, Singapore, Phuket. I got to go to Kuwait. I did get to go to Paris and London. But then I went to La Paz, Bolivia. And while I was there, I got to go to Panama, Argentina, Chile, Peru. And these were just like for 3 days or 4 days, but you know, I still got to go. I think I can't remember. There's always been a conflict in the Middle East. I mean, all the way back to biblical times. But if you remember, and I had nothing to do with this, I'm just sharing history at this point, but they sank our naval ship over in the Persian Gulf, Abu Dhabi area. They sank one of our Navy ships, the Stark, and then shortly after that, we started flagging the Kuwaiti oil tankers with the American flags and escorting them through the Strait of Hormuz. And so while I was at the embassy, you have a Marine house, and for the most, it depends on the size of the embassy. So if you go to like London, there's going to be like 25 Marines there, okay? But for the most part, there's only like 5 or 6, 7 maybe Marines to protect that embassy and that soil.
Mm-hmm.
So Abu Dhabi had 5 Marines. South America had 5 Marines. La Paz, Bolivia. And that was my second embassy. But George Shultz, so if you remember, Hillary Clinton was our Secretary of State. Okay. Well, back in August the 8th, 1988, so it was 8/8/88, that's how I remember the date.
Okay.
George Shultz was our Secretary of State. And he flew to South America, to La Paz. He was going to do a presidential visit. The airport for La Paz is at 20,000 feet above sea level. So you're basically flying at 20,000 feet and land.
Yeah.
Okay. The city itself is at like 19.5. All right. So I was on duty at the embassy that particular day, and we have what we call post 1. Okay, so post 1 is a bulletproof glass room, and you're standing there in your dress blues. Now, the way that most of the embassies work, or all the embassies work, is outside, off of the American soil, you have either your local military or local police, okay? And they do the security on the outside. And as an example, in Abu Dhabi, there was actually a wall around our soil, okay? So that was our compound. And the Marine House actually sat inside that compound. So anyway, Secretary of State George Shultz, he comes to South America, and he brings some of his people with him, right? They fly. But he was going to go to the presidential palace and do a presidential visit with the president of Bolivia. So the motorcade is going down the mountain, and there was an assassination attempt. The bomb goes off beside the motorcade. Now, the motorcade consisted primarily of Suburbans, okay? But you see a Suburban going down the street, and it was just like one of these. However, you had bulletproof glass on the inside of the glass, and there was extra armor around it and the whole bit. So, you know, no one was injured, but you know, we had some glass break, and we had a couple of flat tires, and we diverted the motorcade from the presidential palace. We brought him to the embassy, or they brought him to the embassy. I was still on post 1, but we got him secured. So that was fun for the day.
Yeah, a little bit of excitement. Okay, so why did you decide to enter the Marine Corps?
Because I wanted to earn those dress blues.
And so this might be kind of a dumb question. Oh,
And you know what? It was a guaranteed job. It was a way out of poverty.
right.
I wanted to earn those dress blues.
So this might be kind of a dumb question, so forgive me if it is. But how did you earn your dress blues? Like, what is the difference between earning them and then just buying
Okay,
them?
so as an example, I told you that I graduated number 2 in boot camp.
Mm-hmm.
The number 1 Marine earned his dress blues. He got them. He didn't have to buy them.
Right.
That's how you earn them.
Okay.
You're the best.
So did you earn them by being number 2?
I actually, when I earned my dress blues, it took me until I graduated from this school.
Okay, so that's 6 weeks in
When
Quantico.
I graduated this school, all Marines who graduated this school earned their dress blues. They didn't have to buy them.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. And what are a couple of life lessons that you took away from military service?
You gotta have faith. You have to have faith. I can give you several names, and I'm sure that you might have interviewed some of these men who, and some gave all. Some gave all. All gave some. You know, sometimes it haunts me that I didn't give all. But then I'm reminded that there's other plans, if that makes sense. Okay, so I don't, it's been a very, very, very long time since I've been to any church. Okay. But I accepted Christ. I became a born again when I was 11 years old. Okay. And I remember the most important thing to me at that time were the 10 Commandments. Okay. Well, they're still the most important thing to me to this day. Okay. But I remember, my dad was never a believer. Okay. But I was standing next to my dad one day, and he was talking to one of the elders of the Amish community, okay? And he asked the elder, he says, so you have Catholicism, Judaism, you have all of these different religions. So how do I know which one is right? How do I know which church to go to? And the elder of the Amish community said, listen, the Bible is the foundation, okay? Mm-hmm. And the reason that you have so many different religions is because there are so many different interpretations of the Bible.
Right.
Okay? But he says, as long as you have that foundation and you have something to believe in, okay? Now, in my eyes, religion is a one-on-one between you and whatever it is you believe in, okay?
Right.
And you go to church for the fellowship, right? The people that come into this cafe, that's my fellowship. Okay? Now, you don't have to stand out here on the street and pound on your Bible and stand on a soapbox and yell through a loudspeaker trying to get people's attention. You don't. It's the way you dress. It's the way you walk. It's the way you smell. It's the way you present yourself. It's the way you smile. It's the way you talk to people. Okay? So when someone walks in here, and I don't care, my son will tell you the same thing. It doesn't matter if you're a homeless individual. It doesn't matter if you're a judge, a millionaire. It doesn't matter. You're going to get the same 5-star treatment. It doesn't matter who you are. And that's one of the things that everyone, if you go to Yelp, Google, Facebook, whatever, we're at 5 stars. Mm-hmm. And it's because the people like you that go on there and give us kind words. Okay? Mm-hmm. The service, the food, the this, the that. My son will tell you, he said, Dad, he says, I really feel like I was put on this earth to serve. Okay? This isn't my son's only job.
Right.
He works over at the Springs as well. He serves our elderly. He works in the kitchen over there. But if someone comes in here and if they're drawn to me, that's my chance to share my testimony with them. Mm-hmm. You know? And I'm just going all over here. Have a seat, man. Shit, you've been standing there. So, I have my mother's banana bread recipe. Okay? Mm-hmm. All right. I have been making this banana bread for 25 years. But I have never made a nickel, okay? I will make this banana bread and I will give it to a family who has lost a loved one, something like that. Okay, or someone does a great job. They get a wonderful score on a high school test or something. Absolutely, that well deserved the recognition. I'll give you a loaf of banana bread. Okay. You know, upstairs here, there's condos upstairs. People live upstairs here above Meadows.
Oh, okay.
And there's a husband and wife that live up there. She's an artist, I believe, and he is a former Navy SEAL. And he manages the Freedom Ranch. Now, Freedom Ranch is down by Wise River, and it's for disabled veterans. Okay, now I believe it was, so what they do is they fly disabled veterans from all over the United States to Bozeman, Montana. And then they'll put them on a van and they'll take them to Wise River, and they spend, there's 10 at a time, and they spend 1 week there. And while they're there, you know, they can fish and hike or whatever they can do with their disabilities. Okay.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry.
Every Monday, I make 6 loaves of banana bread. Well, guess what? Today's Monday.
Right.
Okay? But I made 6 loaves of my mother's banana bread today. Tomorrow morning at 6:30, Lee will be here, and I will give him the best 3 out of the 6 loaves, and he will take them to the ranch and share them with our disabled veterans. The other 3, I will share with our employees. I will share with our guests here, our customers. I've had several requests from customers. Can I buy a loaf? Can I buy a loaf? And I'm sorry, I can't do that. I will share with you, but here's where we're going. Now, we're going to step over here to this table. This is reserved for our fallen military and our fallen first responders. Now, if you look, there are a few coins scattered there and some dollar bills, okay? We have people that will come in here and leave a coin, leave a dollar bill. Now, the coins, if you go to a cemetery and you see a coin on a gravestone or a marker,
Right.
there is a significance behind that. Okay? And that's why I put this here. If you leave a penny on a marker, it simply means that you visited the gravesite. If you leave a nickel, it means that you went to boot camp with that individual. And you can take a picture of that if you want to, but if you leave a dime, it means that you served in some capacity with that individual. And if you leave a quarter, it means that you were with that individual when they made the ultimate sacrifice. And so we've had people started leaving coins here and dollar bills. And at a cemetery, the cemetery will gather up those coins, and they will use those coins to help pay for a funeral for the less fortunate.
Okay.
And what my son and I decided that we are going to do, because I am a Marine and I am a member of the Marine Corps League here in Butte, we are going to donate this money to Toys for Tots. Okay? Now then, getting back to the banana bread. We're going to set up somewhere here, Toys for Tots. And with a minimum donation of $10 to Toys for Tots, I will make you a loaf of my mother's banana bread. be my way. Because a lot of the things that, you know, the Marine Corps League does, they do Toys for Tots, but then they do the flag ceremonies and the 21 gun salutes at funerals and that kind of thing. Well, I'm here, I mean, I am here absolutely no later. If I'm here at 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm late.
Right.
Okay? And a lot of the things that they do is during the morning, and we're open 6 until 2. And so I'm not able to go do those things as I would like to do. But by doing this for Toys for Tots, then that makes me feel like I'm doing something worthwhile. So yeah, my folks had the pizza shop, and that's where it all started. Then I got out of the Marine Corps, and I was in Helena, and I got married in I guess that's irrelevant, but I got out of the Marine Corps in '89, and I got married in 1990.
Okay.
My former spouse and I lost our first child.
Like miscarriage?
Now, that's why I wear the earring.
Oh, okay.
I've had this earring for over 30 years, and that child will be with me until the day I die. I fathered 2 girls and 3 children with her. I have 2 girls. They are 30 and 29. They live in Missoula. I am now a grandfather for the 4th time.
Oh, congratulations.
When the 2 girls were in kindergarten and 1st grade, they were 5 and 6 years old, my former spouse decided that she wanted to do, in her mind, bigger and better things. So I became a single parent when they were 5 and 6 years old, kindergarten and 1st grade.
And your son was a baby?
Negative, my son wasn't born yet.
Oh, okay, sorry. Jumping ahead.
My son's mother and I were never married. When my son was born, we spent the first 12 hours of his life in NICU.
Premature?
He wasn't breathing on his own,
Oh.
or properly, correctly. I guess I don't know all the verbiage. However,
Me neither.
while he was in NICU, that's when I discovered or found out that they were watching him for drug withdrawals because his mother was doing drugs while she was pregnant with him, and I had no idea.
Oh, God.
So we got him out of NICU about midnight. 9 hours later, when my attorney showed up at his office, I was in filing for custody.
Right. Of course.
And I fought for 23 months. And when my son was 23 months old, I finally got custody of him. 3 weeks later, he was potty trained and going to school. And we were going back, so in 1989 I was in Helena.
Right.
And my son was born, and 3 months later, I lost my dad. Both of those things, my son was born and my dad passed away in Billings. They flew him for a quadruple bypass. But anyway, then I spent the next 2 years fighting for my son. And then when I got him 3 weeks later, he was potty trained, and I had him in school in Billings. And then shortly thereafter, I got him in a school or a class So he was 3 years old. I got him into a class at the University of Montana in Missoula.
A class?
It's a preschool.
Oh, okay.
So basically, my son's been in school, since when he was 3 years or actually 2 years. Yeah, 23 months. So he would have been 2 years and 3 weeks old. It was when he started school in Billings. And then shortly thereafter, we moved to Missoula. And then when he graduated, I sold the house and moved to Butte. And he moved in with his second sister in Missoula so that he could work in Missoula. And then he came here for Thanksgiving or Christmas. He came Christmas last year, and he decided that he wanted to be in Butte. And so shortly after the first of the year here, he moved to Butte. And we came here to this spot. It was late January, early February,
Right.
and they were closed. And so we went upstairs to Meadows and had a bite to eat. And when we came out, we saw the realtor sign in the window for lease. And it was on a Saturday. I called the realtor and left a voicemail. And it was only like 2 hours later she returned my call, and I didn't think she would on a Saturday. But anyway, then on Monday afternoon, 48 hours later, we were in there looking at the place.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to do a soft opening at the end of February, but dealing with the paperwork and courthouse and all the different things that go into starting a business, we didn't get our business license until the 9th of March.
Right.
And then on the 10th of March, we were able to open.
Right.
So now we're here, we're looking, we gotta be within hours of 100 days, right?
Yeah.
We were closed the day after Easter, and we were closed Memorial Day. Other than that, we've been open 7 days a week. We did not, and I know that there are grants for veterans and even civilians. There's grants out there, small businesses, and we could have went and got a loan and other things, but my son and I each wrote a personal check to start this cafe.
Right.
After 100 days, all of our bills are paid. We have 4 people on payroll, and there is almost twice the amount of money in our account that we started with.
That's nice.
Now again, historically, 2, 3, 4 years when businesses are still in the red. I feel that going into this, and our business plan is not written.
Mm-hmm.
It's up here. But we obviously have a very solid business plan.
Yeah, it's been working.
But we could not and cannot continue without having good business partners
Mm-hmm.
and without the support of Butte.
Right.
And not just Butte. We have people in here from Florida, Canada, all over the United States. People come in and share their stories.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a blessing. When we first started, as an example, are you getting bored?
No, I'm sorry. I'm not getting bored. I'm not getting bored, I'm sorry. No, I'm
You
just
make the
listening.
critical mistake of a reporter.
When we first started, you know, we built our menu, and you have to know your labor costs.
Right.
You have to know your food costs. I mean, so on any given day, okay, you take your total revenue, your gross revenue that comes through that door, okay? 30% labor, 30% food costs, okay? Maybe 20% is your overhead and all the incidentals. At the end of the day, if you're lucky, you can put 10% in your pocket.
Yeah.
Okay, so right now, today, and it's you. I have to say this. Being an owner operator, my son and I, our labor is not included into this.
Okay.
So you have to factor that in. However, our goal for any business should be 30% labor. We're running like 20-21% labor.
That's pretty good.
Same with food costs. Okay? So instead of 30 and 30, you're at 20 and 20. So now instead of putting 10% in your pocket, you're close to 30% going in your pocket. It's good business.
Yeah.
But we couldn't do it without having good business partners. Okay? And when we hire an employee, okay, you're not a cook, you're not a dishwasher, you're not a server. Everybody gets paid the same amount. Everybody shares the tips. And we're going to train you. We're very transparent, okay? We're not going to share bottom line numbers, but I can guarantee you that pretty much every one of our employees knows how much it costs to build every plate that's on our menu.
Yeah.
Okay? And when we interview our employees, we tell them, you're not a cook, everybody pays the same amount, and we want you to buy into this company. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean that you pay us to work here.
Yeah.
Okay? What that means is you learn how much it costs to run this company, and we're going to teach you how we want you to run this company for us. All right? We need a manager.
Oh.
Okay? But I'm not just going to give a set of keys to somebody. You're going to earn it.
Yeah.
Okay? And how do you earn it? You run this business the way we want it run. Okay? It doesn't say Tommy's Diner outside.
No.
Okay? It's the I Don't Know Cafe. Why is it called the I Don't Know Cafe?
Because your partner, you asked her, and her answer is usually I don't know.
Well, I mean, yeah, you talk to pretty much anyone, and you say, where do you want to go eat? Well, what do you want for breakfast? Whatever. So I don't know. Well, now you know. All right? We have answered the age-old question, right? So anyway, by buying in, you're helping us. You know, we have little to no food waste.
That's good.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay. And you go to McDonald's or wherever, every single thing that they do, they build a hamburger in the exact same way every single time.
Right.
Well, when we build a plate of biscuits and gravy and hash browns, every single one of them are built the exact same way.
Right.
You get the same amount of biscuits, the same amount of gravy, and the same amount of hash browns, okay? So now you know. And I'm going to try to make a full circle here, okay?
Okay.
When my father passed away, I guess I got to share this with you. When my father passed away, the man, the preacher, pastor, the verbiage, I can never pronounce it because I'm from the Midwest, and people, I say the collar blue, and they think it's collar. But you know, that kind of thing. Anyway, we became friends, okay? And I started going to his church for a little bit, and I was taking the girls there and Jordan. So he asked me one day, well, I guess it was on a Saturday or a Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
Dave Ramsey. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Very important. Financial Peace University. Okay? He did this like webinar or seminar, whatever. It was a video that was broadcast nationwide. And you could go to church and watch him and listen to him speak. And he is an amazing man. And so by the time he was ready to graduate college,
Mm-hmm.
this man was worth almost $1 million.
Crazy.
Okay?
Yeah.
And this is all faith-based. Okay? Then he was like, the verbiage he uses is cute, but he was very, very, very close to filing bankruptcy because he was not very smart with his money. Okay? But now today he has hundreds of employees. He does Financial Peace University, and he has the baby steps and the budgeting, and he teaches, he gives back. He teaches people how to break the chain, how to get out of debt, how to build wealth, and how to give back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? Now, I'm not a wealthy man by any means, okay, by no man's standards. Growing up poor, not eating for 3 days, being in all these 12 different countries, and seeing all the poverty, and seeing these children who are supposed to be kindergarten, first grade, and out trying to shine someone's shoes so that they can earn a penny to get something to eat. This is my way of giving back. Okay? I remember we were in Billings, and my 2 girls and I were out in the yard working. He was cleaning up. And this man walks up, very dirty dressed. And he asked if there was something that he could do for us to earn some money so that he could buy some food. Well, at that particular time, I didn't have 2 nickels I could rub together. Okay?
Right.
And so I got the man a lawn chair and a glass of water. And I sat him down in the shade. Don't move. And I took my 2 girls in the house, and by now they're 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 years old, right in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I took him into the kitchen, and while I was making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, I tried to use that to share with my girls and coach them and give them a learning lesson. I shared with them that the Bible says if you give out of the kindness of your heart, you will be rewarded tenfold. And I shared with my girls, I said, that doesn't mean that we build this peanut butter and jelly sandwich and we give it to this man out of the goodness or the kindness of our heart, that we're going to receive 10 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in return. It just means that we will be blessed tenfold.
Right.
And so I have been blessed. But I continue to give. My son continues to give. And it's my way of giving back.
The restaurant, you mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why I wanted to start a restaurant, a cafe. Okay? We full circle?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just have a few other questions if you
Absolutely.
don't mind. I'm sorry. I've already kept you for so long.
I've got all night.
So what was your first paying job?
Oh my goodness. So I told you that we were on a farm, And then when I was 9 years old, we moved back into town, and that was about the time that my parents started that pizza shop.
Oh, okay, right.
But my first paying job was, we lived across the street from the grain elevator, and right next to the grain elevator was a gas station.
Mm-hmm.
And at 9 years old, I was managing that gas station. I had a set of keys to it. Every night after school, I went over there, and the owners went home.
Mm-hmm.
I finished up, I locked it up. Saturday morning, Sunday morning, I would go over it, I would open it, I would close it. I ran that gas station. That was my first paying job. And to this day, my third brother will still tell you, that was my job. I was supposed to have that job. He's 20 months older than I am. And he was supposed to have that job, but yeah, at 9 years, and gasoline was 25 cents a gallon.
Those were the days, right?
Right? That was my first paying job. I was 9 years old. So I guess at 56 years old, I've been working basically since I was 3, but rapidly approaching 50 years of being on the payroll. And I have had 1 day of unemployment in my 56 years.
Okay, then this will be an interesting question. What jobs did you have post-service before opening the I Don't Know?
So after the Marine Corps, when I went to Helena, I worked at the Montana Tunnels strip mine in Jefferson City, big open pit strip mine. I started off as a laborer, so basically whatever needed to be done. They hired 2 of us on the same day, and this is a good story for you.
Okay.
They hired 2 of us on the same day, and we go through orientation. And so at the strip mine, what they do is at this particular strip mine, they would drill a series of holes with the big drill, like a water well drill.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on the material, it would be on a 16-foot center, and they would be 25 feet deep. And so you'd have your drill cuttings, the powder laying on the ground there that came out of the hole.
Right.
And so you would sample each one of those holes, give it a number, and take those to the lab, and they would assay them, and they would tell you how much gold, silver, lead, and zinc is in that rock, in that hole.
Right.
So then you would have the surveyors come in, and they would make a map, and they would survey, okay, and then they would fill it with dynamite, and it's boom, and then the surveyors would go back and based on the assays, and they would put points out here on the rocks. So and then you'd put ribbon around it. Inside this ribbon is the really good stuff that goes to the mill, and all this stuff, it goes to the waste pile. Okay, so I started off collecting samples from these cuttings, and then the guy that was hired on the same day as he was working on the survey crew. All right, so then I don't remember, he either quit or got fired just a week or 2 in. Okay, and he was the senior engineer. He hired both of us. I believe his name was Cal Nelson. He said, well, I got to hire somebody else. I said, no, wait a minute. So I'm going to ask you to give me 1/2 of one chance. Let me do both of these jobs. Okay? I will not let you down. So, and this was only about a week or 2 weeks into working there. 3 months later, there was a female engineer, and she said something that I didn't appreciate or just didn't know. And I went Marine Corps on her. Just a little bit later, a couple of minutes later, I'm in HR office. And HR said, you know what? You have worked 16 hours a day, 7 days a week for the last 91 straight days.
That's crazy.
16 hours a day, 7 days a week for 91 days. And she says, the HR says, and it was like on a Wednesday. She said, I don't even want to see you until Monday morning. And I said, well, wait a minute. I said, we're right in the middle of the week here. I said, she said, no, I'm going to pay you 8 hours a day for the next 3 days. Go home. I don't want to see you till Monday. Yeah. So then, I did that for 7 or 8 years until the divorce, I guess. And then during that time when I was working at the mine, I actually got my 40 hours hazardous material training.
Oh.
Okay. And so there's actually, you can go to college for the hazardous material.
Right.
We went through what they call the 40-hour hazmat in 3 days. We did 40 hours of training in 3 days.
Crazy.
Then I started doing some abandoned mine reclamation, and so during the course, there was like 7 or 8 years I worked there. I transferred from that into the reclamation department, and I had my own crew. I was a foreman. I did my own hiring, my own firing, and I had a $1 million a year budget. So the guys out in the pit, they tore everything up, and it was my job to put it back. We would plant close to 20,000 trees a year, 20 acres of grass, that kind of thing, and we were doing a bunch of abandoned mine reclamation and everything. And one year, I had some money left over out of my budget, and as a PR kind of a thing, it was about the same time that they were expanding the Veterans Cemetery at Fort Harrison in Helena. And so I took my crew in there and donated a bunch of material and time. We planted grass and we planted some trees, and lo and behold, that's where my father was laid to rest.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was, that doesn't have anything to do with the story, but my father was cremated. And the gentleman who ran the cemetery at Fort Harrison, he was at my father's funeral. And I had asked him if I could place my dad's as an urn in the ground. He let me. That was the hardest mission that I ever went. From the time I was 11 until the time I got out of the Marine Corps, I didn't have a dad.
Right.
Okay? But from the time I got out of the Marine Corps until the time I got out of the Marine Corps in '89, and I lost my dad in '02.
Okay.
And when he passed away, we were closer friends than we were closer father-son.
Wow.
So I lost a friend. I lost a father, but I lost a friend. And so then I call her my step witch, my stepmother.
Oh God.
And I was living in Billings at the time when he passed, and anyway, I would try to go a couple of times a month, but at least once a month I would drive from Billings to Helena, and I would go to my father's gravesite.
Right.
And I remember there was a little bit of snow on the ground this particular time, and I was having problems. I couldn't find my dad, and I knew exactly where he was. I stepped in an open hole. The snow had covered over in the open hole, but I stepped in the hole where my father used to be.
Oh no.
My step witch had his remains moved to Indiana, and she didn't tell me.
Oh God.
So there's that.
Yeah.
But today, in Millersburg, Indiana, my father, my mother, and my oldest brother are side by side by side. And the step witch is buried up around Chicago somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
So speaking of your father, was he in the military?
Absolutely.
Okay.
My father was in the Army in Korea. And lo and behold, he also was in motor transport.
Really? Oh gosh. And when he wasn't in the military, what was his occupation?
He was a truck driver. And so even growing up, because he was a truck driver, I never really saw him much.
Right.
And my mother, I don't even remember. They were married very young, and she never worked outside the house once they got married. And they were married for like 19 years and some change.
Oh, okay.
And when they divorced, she didn't have a clue. She had never worked outside. She didn't know a clue what she was going to do.
Right.
And we lost her just a couple of years ago in 2020, and not because of COVID.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But she I'm 6'2". I believe she's 5'2". Was 5'2". And my dad was only about 5'7". But
Weird.
my 5'2" mother raised 3 Marines.
Right.
But that she introduced me to religion. She introduced me to God. She introduced me to hard work. And she gave right to her last breath. She was, she's pushing 80 years old, and she goes sit with the elderly and take them to the doctor's office or take them to grocery shopping or whatever.
And after your parents divorced, did she have an occupation?
She got the pizza shop.
Oh.
During the divorce. After I left the strip mine, I was actually, and I was offered, I didn't fill out an application, they came to me. I worked for an environmental firm in Helena. We collected air, water, soil samples. As an example, they right next to the college in Browning, when they built the town 150 years ago, our forefathers, they didn't have a clue.
No.
I mean, about environment and everything, but we're spending our generations cleaning up what they did, but
Right.
what they did made us who we are today, right?
Right.
So
For better and for worse.
absolutely, yeah. So then after that, when I moved to Billings, I don't care. I took the first job I got, and that job was delivering milk to houses at night. I was the milkman, and I don't know. I think it still goes on up there. But then I got on at Home Depot. I was a driver delivering for Home Depot, And each time, I mean, you just better yourself. You get a better job. And so
Right.
when I left Helena, I was doing a wonderful job. And at the very first year out of the Marine Corps, from April to December, when I was working at that strip mine, I grossed $50,000.
Nice.
Okay. And I told myself when I saw that in my career, just once, I will gross $100,000 in a year. Okay.
And you think
Well,
this will be that?
So then,
Oh, okay. There's more.
I go to Billings and I was a milkman, and then I went to work for Home Depot, and then I got on with Cisco Foods.
Okay.
Cisco Foods is the largest food provider in all of North America.
Right.
Okay. I drove semi and I delivered food for 2 years in Billings. And then I transferred to Missoula as a driver. And I drove for another 4 or 5 years in Missoula. And then I became a transportation manager. Now, on day one, I had Kalispell, Missoula, Hamilton, and Great Falls. And I became a manager in January. So I had Kalispell, Missoula, Hamilton, and Great Falls.
Okay.
I had 27 drivers under me. At the end of that first year as a manager, I had 7 of the original 27 drivers.
Oh gosh.
Okay? So, either I didn't want them working for me or they didn't want to work for me, either way. But
Right.
I went in and I built my team. Okay? Then, over the course of a few years, I then put a driver in Cut Bank. I inherited not only Great Falls, I had Helena, Butte, and Whitehall. At one time, I had 40 drivers under me. And they kept me busy. You know, I would I'd leave the house sometimes Sunday night, hopefully Monday morning, and if I was lucky, I'd be home by dark on Friday. I did the exact same thing that I told myself I would not do, because my father was gone driving all the time, and I told myself I will not put my children through that. I will not raise my children that way. But I did it because I was chasing the almighty dollar.
Right.
Okay?
Were you a single father at that time too?
I
Is that
absolutely
accurate?
was.
Okay.
I absolutely was.
So that's hard.
It's very hard. And my relationship with my children suffer to this day. Okay?
Yeah.
It suffers to this day. So, had a house in Missoula, 6 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms,
Gosh.
4,000 square feet. Okay? I was chasing the almighty dollar.
Right.
I was heading in the wrong direction. Okay? Sold the house when my son graduated high school. And now I'm in a 1-bedroom apartment. There's not enough room in there to fart. I gotta go outside. Okay, sorry, not sorry.
Don't apologize.
Okay? Humble. It's not about the house. It's not about all of that stuff. We as a nation, it doesn't matter. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what language you speak. It doesn't matter. We are all brothers and sisters in Christ. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. We are so divided. This country has got to get back to the basics. We have to. We have to. We're going to tear ourselves up.
Yeah.
And my brothers, I'm on a group text with my 2 brothers, and I know somebody else said this, but my brother said, you change the world by your actions,
Right.
not your tongue. It started because my brother says, every morning I say, this is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Well, I remember my mother, I walked past her bedroom one morning and the door was open a little bit, and I heard my mother's voice, and she said, Lord Jesus, use me today to glorify your name. Now, that doesn't mean standing out here thumping a Bible and standing on a soapbox.
Right.
But that's when my brother said, you change the world by your actions, not your tongue.
For sure.
So, anyway.
So, what was your highest education?
United States Marine Corps.
Oh, also.
I took correspondence courses. I mean, it's hard when you're overseas to go on campus.
Right.
Right? And I took things related to the Marine Corps. I did take, a military automotive brake system. I took counteraction terrorism. I went through an extensive course when I was in Japan, and I didn't have to. I took it on my own.
Right.
A drug and alcohol, and it wasn't because I was on drugs and alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
It was to help me identify people who were on drugs and alcohol, if that makes sense.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. No, it does.
If you remember, back in 1989, Mark Roscoe was our state attorney general before he became governor of the state of Montana. And when I got out of the Marine Corps, my stepwitch actually got me an interview with him because she was on his campaign committee when he ran for governor.
Oh, wow.
Okay? So I'm sitting in the state attorney general's office, and I wanted to be state undercover narcotics. But Mr. Roscoe he says, I don't care if it's basket weaving, you have to have that piece of paper. But now they've changed things. They use your life experiences and that, you don't have to have that college degree to get into these different positions.
Right.
But yeah, I mean that was a goal of mine. When I was in South America, there was a DEA office in the embassy, and I got in very well with some of those guys. They actually offered me, they said, we will pay your college if you want to come and be a federal drug enforcement officer. I got tired of being shot at, number one, and I wanted to start a family. I wanted children.
Oh, and so that's why you didn't make it.
That's why I did not make the Marine Corps. Because I wanted children. I wanted to have, and I've had, my entire life, and I miss my grandchildren horribly. My 10-year-old granddaughter, she's been in here a couple of times. And yeah, she's a big help.
I bet.
So then after Cisco, I did that, and so when I sold the house, so it was just about the whole time. I had shoulder surgery, and I was off for 6 weeks.
Okay.
So I shut my phone off. I was literally up at all the Cisco trucks, semis. They have a satellite on them, and I could look at where you are, how long you've been there, and all this stuff, right?
Right.
So I would get up at 2 or 2:30 in the morning, look at my trucks, because we have guys that shuttle all night. They're driving down the interstate all night with 2 loaded trailers, getting food where it needs to go.
Right.
And then we have guys that come in at 5:30 in the morning, and they'll take 1 trailer and they'll go make deliveries. Okay. Reason we pull 2 and 3 trailers is because that second or third trailer basically gets pulled for free. So one guy is doing the job of 2 or 3.
Oh, right.
Okay, with the price of fuel and everything. So anyway, I would get up and I would start looking at the guys on the computer and seeing where they were. But for the 6 weeks I was out with shoulder surgery, shut my phone off. I lost 58 pounds, I think it was, in 6 weeks.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
Yeah.
That cannot be healthy.
I lost 58 pounds of stress. Seriously.
Yeah.
So it was time to make a life change, and so shortly after that, because that was right at December. I had surgery, and I was out all of January, and in February, I went back to work. My boy graduated that year in June, and I sold the house and
Move here?
moved here. The only reason I would say I'm not happy is because I don't have my girls and my grandchildren.
They're in Missoula, you said. So why did you choose to move to Butte?
Well, I would like to say that I've been everywhere, man. There's literally only one or maybe two counties in the state that I have not at least driven through.
Right.
So, I mean, Helena, Billings, I've worked in Bozeman, through Cisco. I've been all over, and there's the lady that named this place.
Oh, from the article, Jeanette?
Janine.
Janine, sorry.
Yeah. And Butte is just Butte. I mean, you're drawn to it.
Yeah.
And it helps that she lives here.
Okay, well that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple more questions and then I can let you go. I'm sorry.
I'm here.
What were the most challenging and difficult things about being in this service?
I tell our staff here, they hear me say it all the time. Attention to detail. Okay?
Okay.
Now, our business plan is we want to give the best product that we can find at the best price.
Right.
The best portions that we can give at the best price. And so if we build a plate and we put it in front of you, the first thing, your eyes are going to get really big and you're like, oh my God, that is amazing. That looks so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It immediately is going to taste good to you.
Right.
Therefore, you're immediately going to consume it all, and your belly is going to be like this, and just like Thanksgiving, and you're going to have to go home and take a nap.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
For literally pennies.
Mm-hmm.
It costs us pennies to build this plate. We're not getting rich. I mean, my gosh, $9.50 for a plate. I mean, we've got the best prices in town.
Yeah.
Okay?
They are
We're
pretty
not trying to get rich off of one plate. We're not even trying to get rich. We're trying to give back.
Right. And it's working.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's because word of mouth.
Mhm.
Okay? Now, we can't please every Karen. Okay? We just can't. We know you're going to have it. Okay? I mean, this in our mind, so the Montana Standard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys do the voting? Best coffee in town, best this in town, best
Yes.
that in town?
I think we have Best of Butte. I think that's what that's called.
There you go. Can you get me that? I've been asking everybody and I can't get nothing.
Yeah, I will. One of our advertising people should have it. I'll make a note and ask them for it.
Okay? Because I heard that they just voted, not just, not too long ago.
Yeah,
But-
I think I heard something about that as
Okay.
well.
So, in my mind, I'm sorry, I'm
There you go.
thirsty.
Oh, no, you're okay. Sorry, I thought you were trying to show us something.
In my mind, all right? This is the best coffee in Butte, Montana, okay?
Okay.
You're not going to find this blend anywhere in Butte, Montana, okay?
Okay.
The cinnamon rolls. Our very first customer, okay, was my son's other boss,
Oh.
okay?
Okay.
He's a 20-year chef. His wife is an 18-year pastry chef. And they came in, our very first customers, they got biscuits and gravy, they got the cinnamon roll, they got pancakes, they just got,
Everything.
yeah, basically. And she told me, I couldn't do better. She's an 18-year chef.
Wow.
She said the pancakes are so fluffy. The cinnamon roll is so this. So, where am I going with this? I don't know. But it's the best product that you're going to find at the best price. Okay? So if we would be voted, in my mind, I'm a very humble individual. I take a great amount of pride in my work. I am not one. Have I ever, since the time you've known me, have I ever said, look at me, look what I've done? No, and you never will. Okay? It's not about me. Okay? But I'm almost positive we would get voted the best coffee in town. I've only had 2 or 3 people say it's not strong enough. And it's those Karens that want the strong coffee. Okay?
Yeah, like
And
make your hair
and you
smell.
can't please everybody. So we have real potato hash browns, okay? Some people say they're not crispy enough. Some people say they're too crispy, okay? When you step up to the counter to place your order, you tell us how you want your hash browns,
Yeah.
right? And we'll do everything we possibly can to accommodate, okay? So anyway, we would hopefully receive a lot of those awards that people voting for us.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure they do have a Best of Butte, so I will
And I think that
ask.
it would, yeah, I think it just happened not too long ago.
Yeah, that tracks. Yeah, I will ask someone about it, and try to get you a copy. I mean, you're
No worries.
like literally 2 minutes from the office, so I can just
Right.
drop it.
Like 90 seconds,
Yeah, yeah.
So, okay, so what was the most challenging thing about your time in the service?
Most guys would, or most people would probably say being away from home. So I'm sorry, yeah, getting back, so attention to detail, yeah. So we have to do everything, but I tell these guys, you know, if I didn't pay attention to detail, I wouldn't be standing here today, okay? You have to learn eyes, body language, movement, okay? I could tell what the bad guy, I couldn't tell what the bad guy was gonna do, but I could pick out the bad guy and knew he was going to do something and diffuse the situation before it became a situation.
Right.
Attention to detail. That was the hardest part for me. Because when you're in South America and you're working at the embassy and you're basically a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, short-haired person, they immediately think that you are DEA and you're there to break up their coke farms.
Right.
And you literally had a price on your head. So everywhere you went, you had to have your head on a swivel, you know. And in Abu Dhabi, okay, the ambassador there was a marathon runner, and the Marines, we would always go do physical fitness, right? Well, here we are in the middle of the stinking desert, right? The ambassador really enjoyed running with the Marines, okay? So you have a t-shirt, shorts, sneakers, and a shoulder holster with a pistol, running down the streets protecting the ambassador because he wants to go for a run. Okay? I mean, that's pretty stressful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's stressful enough to have to get out of bed and go run, right? And then, of course, you have the 8888 with the assassination attempt.
Oh, yeah.
And on Marine Security Guard, we have a top secret clearance, and we see messages all the time. there's things that go on out there, guys, that you never see in the newspaper or on TV. You just wouldn't believe what goes on.
Mm-hmm.
And you just never know when it's going to happen to you.
Stuff like out of like Tom Clancy and stuff, or
Sir?
stuff like out of like Tom Clancy, or
Stuff like you see in the movies where the embassy gets overran. So you got 5 Marines against hundreds of people trying to overtake that embassy.
Yeah.
That shit really happens.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not just on TV.
yeah.
That's a little stressful.
Just a little.
Way to understate that.
Okay, what was the best thing about serving?
Ooh. Earning those dress blues. Earning those dress blues. Serving this country.
Do you still have your dress blues?
Absolutely, I do. So I changed. I used to have personalized license plates on my pickup.
Mm-hmm.
They used to say faithful. Well, I'm sorry. What the hell was it? Well, it said, yeah, I used to have it M, E, J, and L. So people said, what is that? I said, me, Jesus, and Lucifer. Who do you want to see? No, but it was Morgan, Emily, Jordan, and Leah. So my 3 children and my firstborn grandchild, it was Morgan, Emily, Jordan, and Leah. But I used to tell people it's me, Jesus, and Lucifer. Who do you want to see?
Did you plan that?
But now it says faithful.
Okay.
Okay. In the Marine Corps, Semper Fidelis, always faithful. That is what Semper Fidelis means. It means always faithful. You are faithful to your God. You are faithful to your country. You are faithful to your Marine Corps. And you are faithful to your family. Okay? There's some things I'm going to have to answer to on Judgment Day. But being unfaithful is not one of them.
Okay, and I think this might be my last question. So you don't volunteer in the Marine Corps. Why did you volunteer to drive around the lieutenant colonel?
Well, that would sound like a pretty cake job to me.
Okay, I just had to ask because.
And I mean, at the time, it was only going to be for like, 2 or 3 weeks.
But then you were too good at it. You wanted to keep going.
I guess. So. But you know what? There's a lot more men and women out there than me that you guys need to be interviewing.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we so usually we do an interview every single week from like I want to say it's Labor Day or no, Memorial Day.
Memorial Day's Labor Day.
Until Memorial Day to Labor Day. Thank you. Actually, it might be Memorial Day to Veterans Day, I think is what it is. Anyway, up until now, we've been interviewing a veteran from that span of time, and I think it's been like 26 is how many we've interviewed every year.
Mm-hmm.
They cut it in half this year, so we're only doing like 13 every other weekend. But I've only interviewed you, and then I'm interviewing another veteran in a few weeks. But Duncan has been going all over interviewing veterans, so we will definitely have a good mix in there.
All I'm trying to say is that I haven't seen combat. This table is for our real heroes. Okay? And we have heroes walking among us. Mike Lawson.
Oh yeah, we did him a few years ago.
Oh, you need to do him again. You really do.
Okay. I didn't work here when we wrote about him. But I was told that he was really, really resistant to do it.
He is a very humble individual.
Yeah.
He is a very humble individual. He seeks zero recognition, and I seek zero recognition. I just love sharing my testimony, sharing my story.
Yeah. He cut the ribbon at the new veterans.
He absolutely did.
That was so cool.
Absolutely did.
Yeah, no, I mean, I interviewed him for one story, and he's just a really great guy.
Yeah,
Very
absolutely.
inspirational.
And you know, my son and I, 100 days into this, he admitted that he was reluctant, and in some ways he's still reluctant. He's very young, and this is a big responsibility for him.
Yeah.
But, you know, he, in his mind, he's still stuck on growing up. I was hard, okay? I was hard on the boy. But when we had that conversation just a couple of weeks ago, I said, listen, you're an adult now. I don't have to be that guy. I'm not a hard ass. And I told him, I said, when my dad passed away, he was more my friend than my father. And I said, now, let's be friends.
Yeah.
I don't have to be that guy anymore. But my two girls, I don't think that they still have resentment. I mean, I was a hard ass, and I don't think sitting at this table those colors have shown, right? I'm not a hard ass, am I? Your first impression of me?
No.
But I don't have to be that guy anymore.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, we all make mistakes as parents. We all make mistakes as students. We all make mistakes as Christians. We all make mistakes as employees. That's the greatest part about being human, is that you're allowed to make mistakes. But I raised my children the best that I thought I was doing. And yes, I made mistakes, but look at them now. I mean, my oldest daughter graduated valedictorian. My only son owns his own business, for Pete's sake.
Yeah. That's
Right?
pretty cool. So I think you already said this, but were you the youngest of your brothers and sisters? Okay.
I am the baby of 5.
Okay. And then what is the name of the actual place in San Diego where you reported to for boot camp?
It's called MCRD, so Marine Corps Recruit Depot.
Okay.
And you either go to San Diego or Parris Island, and that's a fight, or not a fight, but a rubbing deal. So the Mississippi River divides. Okay, so I was actually in Illinois when I enlisted, but the MEPS was in St. Louis, which is on the west side of the Mississippi River. So that's everybody west of the Mississippi River goes to San Diego. Everybody east of the Mississippi River goes to Parris Island.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay. So you entered as a private E1, am I saying that right? And then you left as a private E5?
Negative. Sergeant E5.
Sergeant E5? Okay. Okay, I think that's all my questions. But usually what I like to do is fact check before the story runs. In this case, the story isn't running until August 8th. So we have a little bit of time. But yeah, you probably will be hearing from me again, just a fact check.
I would greatly appreciate it.
Okay, cool.
And I would like to see this, or I mean, my brothers would like to read it, and I didn't even know that we were in the newspaper. I mean, I knew that they came here and they took some photos and took the pictures, but I had no idea when it was going to be in the newspaper.
Oh, yeah. So what I like to do is, I mean, I just told you it was August 8th, but even when we don't have that
8/8?
Yeah.
Huh?
That's funny. I just
Wow.
realized that.
Yeah.
Well, I just told you it was August 8th, but usually what I like to do, just as a courtesy to all my sources, is right before it runs, even if I don't have any questions, which is rare, I like to call and just tell them when it's going to run, because, I don't know, you gave me the time, you should know when your story's going to run. But yeah, so you will definitely be here. Or if your dad was in the room, and why did you guys all decide to work?
So I cannot speak for my brothers.
Okay, fair
But
enough.
I suppose that played a little bit into it. Because my oldest brother was 70s,
embassy bombings or?
And at the barracks.
Yeah.